Good evening, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Nicholas County Board of Education, Tuesday, September 3rd. And at this moment, please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, Mr. Green, Mr. Moose, you can hear us, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Approval of the agenda, anything needs to be looked at?
I think all the corrections are written and read on your agenda. Just a couple of little changes, but no new items.
All right, number 4, approval of the minutes of the meetings held on October 19th.
On that September 3rd date, it says 8 a.m. at the end.
Okay, I'll fix it.
Okay, Ms. Kim will fix that, Mr. Moose.
Okay, and now the 30th will start at 5 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held on October 19th, 2024?
So moved.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, unanimous. Superintendent's information updates.
Before I go into my announcements, I'm going to ask Mr. Henshaw to come up and talk to us a little bit about some issues we're running into with some of our devices at schools. I'll say him elaborate on what we have going on.
You know, as if a kid gets a book or anything, they're responsible for not destroying it. I just want to bring this to you guys and show you that this is what we're kind of facing with a lot of our student devices. And you may hear some grumbling from parents because we're going to start charging for these because there's no way that I can give this to another student. And I'm going to ask you to try to tear one of those. That keyboard's already right. That's $120. So try to take one of those keys off. Try to take one off. Try to take it off with your fingernail. So I was going to pass that around and show you guys how, when that, you know, because students will bring these to the office and say, well, my key just fell off.
Did you see that, Jeremy?
They're drawn on and scratched on, and there's worse than that, actually. Some of them are burned.
And that was a new one this year?
Well, that student had it was brand new last year. But, you know,
And I'm supposing they want a new one.
yeah, they just bring it to the office and want another one because that one's not working.
Well, no.
So the way I've been handling it is, you know, I've got pricing on parts. What I'm going to do is they do need a device to do their curriculum. So they can have one to stay at school. They're not allowed to take it home, and they're going to get an invoice for that device. Because I can't, there's no way I can give that to another student. Because, I mean, that's the way it works. They don't just get their own device. If they get it while they're there, when they leave, we clean that device up, we wipe it, and we hand it to the next student that comes in.
I'm curious, I didn't answer anything. What was the approximate age of the student? that had-
That's middle school.
Middle school?
Middle school.
Yeah. Yep, those Windows devices are in middle school. We don't have hardly any trouble with elementary school students. A lot of those don't go home. But I just really wanted you guys to know that there's going to be some invoices going out, and if people complain to you, I mean, if they did that to a book, they would have got an invoice. If they did that to a bathroom stall, they would have got, you know, in trouble. If they did that to a bus seat,
What is the cost of
those are about $550 right now.
Normal wear and tear is one thing, but
Yeah.
That's abuse too.
I see it as destruction of property, and I know that Mr. Beam is going to ask that they're not just to be paid for that, but discipline from the destruction of property discipline. So I just want to make you guys aware that we're going to start sending invoices out, and if you hear complaints, that's fine.
Thank you. As far as my report, I have just a few topics today, nothing elaborate. I'll be starting my classroom visits tomorrow at our schools. As you all know, I do get in all the classrooms and visit and see how the kids are doing, how the teachers are doing. I'll start those tomorrow. I called Dave Ferguson and Chris Campbell today, and they're going to come to the September 30th board meeting and give you all an update on our construction projects as well as our MIP sewer system project at Nicholas County High School and our needs project submission that will be submitted no later than September 13th to renovate our CTE center. So they'll be here on the 30th if nothing comes up in the meantime. The next one is one we're getting some calls about. I just want to make sure the public understands this is not a county decision, not the passing buck, but it's not. Educational leave is something that in the past, parents were allowed to take their children out of school if they could prove that they were taking the children for educational leave to Williamsburg or Gettysburg or wherever they wanted to go to. As long as they provided some information on what the kids did when they were there, they would get excused absences for that. Well, as you know, there's a really big push about attendance right now in West Virginia. And the legislature passed a bill that does not allow us to accept educational leave for students. So we were allowed, they could even get up to 10 days. Now, 10 days had to be approved through the board office, or the board members, but a principal had the authority to approve up to 5 days, and now they don't have that. So when parents complain, and they will, I'm not sure I don't understand, but it's not something we can control. And so like I'm telling people on some of the things they're upset about, you know, a lot of this stuff is mandated by the legislature. We've got delegates and we've got senators, and they're the ones that make these decisions. We certainly don't. We, as superintendents, we do try to talk to our legislatures about things that we think need to be done to improve our school system, and we talk to them. We also have the problem with employees taking 5 days of their sick or their personal leave to go on vacations, which is fine. They're allowed to do that. But the policy says they have to give us 14 days notice to get it approved by the board. So, and those are not happening. We got one just this week or today or Friday or something. Somebody wanting to go on vacation for a week. You know, they have a right to have, they have 5 personal days, without cause days they can use for any reason. They don't have to even give us a reason. But they do need to give us 14 days notice so we can get it on the board agenda and get it approved. And I'll put that on our Facebook page so people see that. It's always been there, it's just something that gets kind of lackadaisical, and some people do it, some people don't. Some people do it months in advance, and other people don't do it at all. Our student representatives, we now have those. They'll be starting September 30th. The Nicholas County High School student representatives will be Haley Johnson and Isaiah Minor. And in October, our Richard High School representatives will begin, and that's Alexis Keffer and Jolena Miller. So we'll be happy to see those students at our board meetings and give us an update what's going on in their schools. The last thing, you know, I just think, you know, we've been talking about budget for a while now. And we're gonna talk about it throughout this year because it's really in a critical stage. From like August 1st, and Mr. Williams is back there, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but from August 1st to the end of August, we lost 70 students, maybe more than 70 students to homeschool, which is more than the entire student population at Zela or at Birch River. Now, when those things happen, our funding drops significantly. And so we knew going into this year, we had a $3.5 million shortfall, and we had to take $3.5 million out of our contingency fund just to make our budget. And as you can see, if this trend continues, it's continued far enough now, we have to make very tough decisions in the near future on how to survive financially. Because if we don't, if we just kick the can down the road, 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be in a deficit. And I'm not saying as a Debbie Downer here, I'm just giving you the facts. I want people to come back in 3 or 4 years now, which Mr. Bean would have told us that this was the situation we're in. Well, mark it down, September 3rd, 2024, I'm telling you, that if we don't do something drastic to help our budget, we're going to be in trouble financially. I'm sorry, that's all I got.
Well, back to your, about the students in the educational league. You know, there was a bunch of stuff on Facebook, and I just wish that people, and they were slamming the board office.
Of course.
And I wish people would read things. They make themselves look really bad when they don't read that was from the state. And they're blaming our board office. And, you know, our board office isn't perfect. They make mistakes. We all do. We're human. But I wish people, before they blew things up, would, you know, think about what they're putting on Facebook, spreading false information.
Well, the other thing is we'll still have parents that say, well, I've taken my vacation, we're taking our vacation, and they will. And I'm not trying to argue for or against that. All I'm saying is we can't count as excused absences any longer.
Right.
Unless they use the parent notes. I guess they use the parent notes for that. I mean, they get so many parent notes, but those are supposed to be for sick days.
Well, you know, once again, parents need to realize on those parent notes, the parent can't write a note and say, you know, we went on vacation and it's excused. It's not excused.
Right.
If they say they're sick and they lie, that's one thing, but, you know, that's what people do. And, you know, we had that attendance meeting the other day, and it blew my mind because I was thinking back on when I was teaching that, you know, if the kids were there bell to bell, they got a letter, and once they spelled attendance, they got extra recess. And we had a kid that was picked up early one day, and of course, that knocked them out of getting their letter. And I never said a word. The next day, as soon as that kid walked in, the kid said, "Where'd you go yesterday? We didn't get our letter." And they said, "We went to Walmart." So that's the time, you know, if it was a doctor's appointment, a dentist's appointment, that's understandable, but just to pick a kid up and go to Walmart, we've got to turn around, the notion that being at school is not important, and I don't know how we do that. Anyway.
I'd like to make one comment on the charter schools and the homeschooling and stuff. I come from a business background, and I kind of take a little different look at things. And I want the public to know that it's twofold. It's not just blaming the legislature. And the legislature does have unintended consequences a lot of times. But I want to assure the Republic, the way I look at it, we just need to get better as a public school system. And I've been associated with the board and Terrence and some administrative stuff. I want the public to know they're trying. We are trying to make our schools better. It's these little things like the cell phones, the disciplines, and everything that you do, that it takes a while. But we've got to get better, because what's happening and what's going to happen as far as an unintended consequence from the legislature is a lot of these people are belling, homeschooling's fine. I'm not judgmental. You know, I'm a big believer in freedom of movement. However, what's happening is when they're running against adversity, they're running, well, what is homeschool? And they're going out homeschooling. And then what's happening is they find out it's not what they thought it was, and they're coming back into the system. And we're losing that. But I guess what I'm saying is twofold. You've got a problem over here that legislatively can be fixed, and maybe it will down the road by writing to legislature senators. What we can control as a school board and a school system is to get better. You know, get better and you know, it's a competitive world. I come from a competitive world in business. And right now with charter schools, virtual schools, but I want to assure the public that what I see, that is what's happening. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of steps. But anyway, I just want to make that comment.
Well, moving on to something more rewarding. Number 6, recognition of the West Virginia Schools Athletic Coaches Association Wrestling Coach of the Year. And at this time, if Kathy Tyree would like to come up.
You'll have to talk about because my battery's died.
Okay, I'll do my best. So I'm Kathy Tyree, I'm the athletic director at Nicholas County High School. And I received an email on May the 28th that our head wrestling coach, Kevin Amy, had been selected by the West Virginia Schools Athletic Coaches Association as Coach of the Year. So we were pretty excited about that. So Kevin will come forward and I'll present him with his plaque. And the plaque was made by Marion County Technical Center. It's a really nice plaque. Congratulations.
Okay.
We can go over there for
Yeah,
this too.
I was just gonna get the two of you and then get,
Okay.
okay. Look this way, everybody. Okay. Oh, did you get it? Yeah.
That's awesome. I just Thank you.
Here's glasses.
Kevin, did you want to give a speech or anything? No. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have delegations, and I believe we have one signed up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brandon Dodrell. So if you would, go to the podium, tell us who you are, where you're from, and then you have 3 minutes.
Okay, can I hand these out to you guys?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then to the ones that are absent.
We'll make sure they get them. Thank you.
Sir. My name's Brandon Dodrell. I'm a resident of Canvas, and I have 2 children in Nicholas County School System. And I'm here today in regards to the new dress codes that is proposed by the schools. This is kind of a legal issue, so I don't know if you guys want to discuss it here, or sometimes you guys do legal and executive session. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't matter to me either way. I'm just trying to be respectful of what the board would like to do from that aspect of it.
As long as you're not specifically mentioning anybody's names, you're good.
Okay. So there's a Supreme Court ruling that came out just last year. Most of the school board policies rely on the Supreme Court case of Tinker from 1969. The new ruling came out in 2023, just last year. And that ruling is out of Fourth Circuit, which is what West Virginia falls under in the Supreme Court. This case is out of North Carolina. It's Helter versus Charter Day School. There was a bit of discussion whether the charter school was a public school or not. And since they did receive Title IX funding, they did deem that a public school. So with this, they were requiring the female students to wear skirts and skirts only. The Supreme Court stepped in after the lower court ruled that any dress code that is more addressable to one gender rather than another gender is a violation of the 14th Amendment. It further went on to state that any dress code that is more enforceable to females than males also violated Title IX ruling under the Fairness Act. This right here, the one that has Association of Title IX Administrators on the top, that is an email that association sent out, basically warning schools, hey, these dress codes, if you start going into length of shorts, if you start going into showing of shoulders, showing of stomach, stuff like that, something that's more addressable to a female than it is a male, violates that underneath this new case law that came out in 2023. So I believe that with the policy that is proposed, it's my understanding that that's not in effect yet, correct? With the length of the shorts?
It'll be approved the 30th of September board meeting, I believe.
Okay. So my kid has already been dress coded twice.
Well, the dress code there is a dress code in place,
Correct.
okay? And your time's up, but I'm interrupting you, so I'm gonna give you a minute.
Yes.
But, so the dress code is in place. The problem with the dress code we've had is it wasn't being enforced. The dress code has been in place for quite a few years.
Correct. That dress code doesn't go into revealing of the shoulders, the torso, the length of the shorts. It doesn't go into that. The policy that you have posted online on the website that parents are supposed to abide by doesn't cover any of that. It's actually very, very, very vague. It's about this long. It's not anything in there pertains to any of this. It just says that shorts shall cover your buttocks. That's basically all it says.
The only thing we've changed in the current dress code is shall to must.
The first line.
That's it.
The first line, it was talking about covering the buttocks areas. It should, we said it must. That's the only thing that we changed that I'm aware of on the draft. Now, I may be wrong, but I have to look at it a little closer. But I don't think that there's other things in it. I know we didn't add those specific things that Brandon was talking about to it. It was already in there.
Okay, and I'm not sure when that policy was passed, but underneath this 2023 rule, and I do believe that it violates federal law. And, I don't want to see the board get into a position of where they are violating law that would go into a costly lawsuit. Or, the Title IX stuff, I think some of that stuff can even affect funding. That comes into play.
Well, as far as dress code for girls and boys, it's the same. It doesn't say a gender.
Correct. And that's what this stuff kind of highlights, especially some of these documents. Sure, it's for everybody, but who's it more enforceable on? And that's what Heltner goes into. Who's it more enforceable on? The dress code can be very, very broad for everybody, but is it more addressable, the length of shorts, is that more addressable to males or females?
It's equal.
who is more likely to violate that policy and get in trouble for it, though, is what this goes by. Showing of the torso, same thing. Showing of the shoulders, same thing. You don't necessarily have males violating that policy or getting slapped with a dress code violation. And, obviously, we don't want stuff revealing in schools.
And that's what we're trying to keep.
And I understand where that's coming from. But with it being acceptable in public areas, I think that based off of the case law, it has to be acceptable anywhere it's public. And that's what my argument is I think that it violates federal law under the Peltner versus Charter Day School. And I did make a copy of the entire ruling that I'm going to leave here. I didn't make a copy for everybody because it's 200 pages long.
Okay. Well, I am going to disagree with you on what's out in public and what's appropriate, because you see all the time out in public, you'll see somebody with a FU shirt on, and we certainly don't want that in our school system.
Correct, I agree with
So
that.
you can't go by what's out in the public, and so I'm.
Well, and that's not gender related. And this is specifically for gender related stuff, is what this case law goes off of.
Well, Brad, I thank you for the information and all of our policies and stuff before they come to the board. It's reviewed by legal and then it'll come to the board, but it's good information before we make our formal vote on
Okay.
it.
And I have been in contact with the State Department of Education's legal services, and they're very interested in this ruling because they hadn't heard of it.
But again,
So it's a new ruling.
But again, the way I understand it is, our policy, we really just changed from shall to must. So that's the policy we're operating under here, but just wasn't enforced yet. And that particular policy does not discriminate against male or female. I know what you're saying, that if the people that violate it, a male could violate it just as well as a female. They may not be. They could.
Even when I was still teaching, this policy was in effect because at the grade school level, we did not let our girls or boys wear muscle shirts or spaghetti straps. That was in our policy. So I don't know why you're saying it's not in the policy.
The policy that you have posted online does not pertain to anything to length of shorts or anything like that. I just reviewed it right before I came in here. The release on the Board of Education's Facebook page, as well as the release into the Nicholas Chronicle, stated that the short length, it was going to be that the short length was to be mid-thigh. I don't know if you guys have shopped for teenage girls recently. You can't find clothes like that. And to change a policy after everybody goes school shopping, it's kind of crazy.
I think it was, I'm pretty sure, if it's not,
We talked about this in April and May before people went shopping. Now, I realize not everybody pays attention to board meetings, I get it. But we did start talking about it in the spring. But I'll be really interested in seeing the website and the policy you're referring to, because I know the board passed a new policy in like '22, and I think that maybe under procedures, there's maybe another one listed there. One of the things we've been trying to do is go through all of our policies since we got here a year ago and try to figure out what's needing changed, what needs updated, what needs thrown out altogether. But I'll assure you, I will take a real close look at that, and I will get an opinion from our attorney before I recommend any approval of any policy.
Thank you. That's what I was asking.
and I'm sure each one of us will take time to review this information.
Okay.
And,
Like I said, I'll leave this entire court docket with the secretary.
okay.
That it outlines everything. A lot of it in the beginning is this a public school or is this a private school? So you got to kind of work your way through that to get into the other aspect of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, action items. A, discussion with possible action on establishing the superintendent's goals for the 2024-25 school year. Mr. Green and Mr. Moose, were you able to look at those? Kim downloaded them right before we started.
I haven't. No, I did not receive those.
She uploaded them
Did not
right.
receive.
Refresh your device, it should come up.
Do you have it?
Did you send them to all of us?
I put it in Teams.
And what was it again? What are you looking
The goals, my goals.
at? No, I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
I saw a piece of paper.
yeah, we got the paper, but refresh yours.
We got it, Mr. Moose. Did you see it? It came through. Rick, you all see it?
I haven't found it yet.
Okay. It's on the same agenda. It just got a star by it where, so you may just have to refresh your, but it's on that 9/16 board, or 9/3 board meeting.
Go to the top of your page, and just slide it down, and it'll pop up.
And I put additional.
And there's additional payments in there also.
Well, I'll go ahead and read my goals so the public is aware of exactly what those goals are. The first one's a little bit longer than the other two, but the first goal that I selected, of course, the board has a right to accept or reject any of these goals and give me additional goals that they choose. Continue to address the deficiencies of our academic progress in the core subjects of science, math, and language arts. This will be addressed with extensive professional development for our teachers, as well as observation of student interaction during their lessons and performance on a daily level in the classroom. Principals and academic coaches, as well as teachers and interventionists, will work together to grow our students at a more successful rate. I will attend school leadership meetings to gauge the direction of instruction in the schools. So the first one's an academic goal. The second one, enhance the learning environment, school learning environment, by emphasizing and monitoring dress code and personal communication device directives for both students and employees. I think that by doing this second goal, it helps achieve the first goal. And the third one I have is attend civic group meetings when invited to share with them the goals of our school system that I envision achieving, completion of both the Ridgewood and Gully Creek construction projects, targeting academic progress and mastering core subject content, addressing the attendance issues for both students and employees, creating more opportunities for students wishing to seek CTE certifications, and aggressively addressing our budget concerns.
Would any board members like to add to the superintendent's goals? Add anything?
I think that pretty covers it. If you get too many, it just scatters everything out too
Right.
much, and you don't get anything done, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to keep it to a minimum. And work on, most important things. Which those
Well,
are.
all those goals go right into our mission of educating and preparing students for success after high school. So you got a general mission, and it's these core things that the superintendents want to work on that are going to lead to the success of that mission. So I don't have anything to add to it. If we can accomplish those, I think it'll be great.
I feel like it covers a lot, and just, you know, just going to everything that you're invited to, that's a big one. Mr. Green or Mr. Moose?
Hold on one second. Mr. Moose just called me and said that he lost connection, so I'm calling him back.
Mr. Green did too.
I think that communication with those civic groups and what you're doing here and even legislature, these are taped and stuff. As a former citizen versus board member, I can tell you that the board functions and stuff and the information was out there. We just need the community, the parents to buy in. The education system is so important. But we need buy-in from the community stuff. So that communication and continually, even though you've said it once, you go say it again and say it again and say it again. We've got to continue and stay consistent. We need to stay consistent with our goals and stuff. But if we can get buy-in from the community, I think we can make our system better.
Mr. Green or Mr. Moose, do you have any goals that you would like to add to the superintendent?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you.
No, I think he's done a great job, working hard.
The only other thing is just a reminder to the board that I have to have my evaluation done in March. I don't know if it's March 1st or March 31st, but since it's the last year of my contract.
January.
January, the evaluation has to be done January. So I got 2 months to get all this stuff, 3 months.
Well,
Thank you so much. I was trying to get 3 extra months out of that. January.
okay. Action item B, discussion with possible action on approval of the MOU with University of Charleston for the Master of Science in Occupational Therapy program and Occupational Therapy Assistant program. That's in your packet.
These,
Now, do I understand this correctly, that it is guidance in occupational therapy?
It is for student teachers, student occupational therapists, and physical therapists to work under our current occupational therapists and physical therapists.
Did you hear her, Mr. Moose?
Yes, I think so. It's a student program.
It's like a student.
Board.
Yes, yes, sir. It's like a student teacher program for therapy and occupational therapists and physical therapists.
Training program, like just like a student teacher or something like that, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
these are master students, right? Master of Education.
Master of Science.
Master of
Yeah.
Science and Physical Therapy is what they would be in occupational therapy. This was a request from our current PT and OTs to continue what they previously have done.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'm gonna move on to action item C, discussion with possible action on the approval of the MOU with SESC for the West Virginia Virtual Home Academy Services. And that's exactly the way it was last year, correct? If there's no discussion on C, I'll move to D, discussion with possible action on the approval of the MOU with Bluefield State University for Clinical Teacher of Record program. Okay, if there's no discussion on action items, we'll take a vote. Do we have a motion to accept action items A, B, C, and D?
Make the motion.
Mr. Barry makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Mustafa.
Mr. Moose will give it to you, second. And any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion unanimous. Consent items, finance.
Okay, first item is payment of current invoices. And everything was in your packet except for one sheet of paper that I handed out before the meeting, and Kim emailed to Mr. Moose and Mr. Green.
It's in your packet.
So are there any questions about any of the invoices presented?
Is the truck a service truck, or I noticed it's for Career Tech? Is that correct, or
It's an expedition.
that's the transportation of students, that what it's for?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll notice a lot of times they have to have a rental vehicle to take their kids.
It's a large SUV, is what it is. It's like a Suburban, but it's a Ford, yeah.
So that will keep them from having to rent vehicles a lot to take their kids to their various competitions that they do.
Yeah.
And that wasn't paid out of our coffers, that was paid out.
Oh, you're right. That'll be out of our funds.
Okay,
Okay. If there are no questions about those, I have some bids from the schools for photography. Glade Creek, it's going with Cardinal Photography, and Somersville Elementary and Birch River Elementary, TSS Photography. And then we have a bid from Bluebird Bus Sales for a 77-passenger gasoline bus, and I believe that Alan's planning to buy 2 of those.
We got the 2, we have 2 we got last year, is that correct?
We got 3 last
Oh,
year.
3?
Yeah.
How are they doing?
I've had no complaints. Gas mileage is about the same. The gas is cheaper. I mean, it's much easier to work on, much easier to get service. Just 30 minutes down the road. It's been good so far.
Are you going to go, are you going to go with the air conditioning? I noticed there's been a lot of problems this summer with buses overheating, children.
If that's something the board would like to give me direction on, I don't think I would recommend it at this time. It's an extra, I think on the sheet you all have, it's close to $11,000. As of today, that price went up to, they added like $2,500 to that air conditioning price. You're looking at over $13,000 extra for air conditioning. I think that probably my opinion is once we would go down, so if we would put air conditioning on these 2, my opinion is, then you gotta do it with all of them, as we buy new ones. So, I don't know, recommend it. I mean, it's $26,000 just for these two. And what we're looking at is the amount of money that we're allotted from the state. We can't afford 3 buses each year. And so if we buy 1 or 2 a year, then every few years, then we might be able to buy that 3 buses in a year. But if we start putting air conditioning on them, I think that will kind of eat away at our bus allotment money from the state. But that's just my opinion.
What's a standard bus? Is it 77?
That is standard, and I will say 77 passengers, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
So that's probably 77 elementary kids if you're able to seat them 3 to a seat. If we have high school, middle school kids on a bus, you're not gonna fit 77.
So this is the standard bus, that's what, it's not an additional bus like for larger trips like for bands and football. This is the standard.
Yeah, that's the standard bus,
Okay.
that's the size of the bus that we've been purchasing for past several years.
Now, any of our standard buses have air conditioning at present?
We have no buses with air conditioning. So,
And Alan and I talked about this last week or 10 days ago, whenever it was. He came to me and he talked to me about it. And we both had feelings both directions. We understand the comfort of air conditioning. We're also looking at our budget and trying to watch every expenditure we make and what kind of precedent that sets in the future of always air conditioning your buses. And I think he asked me the question, if we had to decide right now which way would you lean, I said I would lean towards no air conditioning is what I would do. But I also told him, and he already mentioned it too, that we do want the board's input on what they'd like for us to do. I mean, in the great scheme of things, $12,000 any way you look at it. But it's a hard one to navigate as far as what you want, if you want to spend that money for that or not. Because, yeah, you're already going to have how many buses we got, but the others are going to want to do.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to have air conditioning. I just think that once you start buying, who gets air conditioning, who doesn't, I think once you start buying air conditioning buses, I think you have to kind of, my opinion is you kind of just have to go with that.
Well, your main busing, I assume, is not in the summer. It's in during school season. The mornings, I think, would be cooler. Now, your afternoons, I can see releasing or whatever, so.
Yeah, you're really looking about a month.
Yeah.
Once we hit September, the buses, it'll start cooling down.
Turn the heat on.
Yeah.
That's 46 degrees.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted your opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one contract, and that's with Appalachian Office Products for a service agreement for Nicholas County High School. So if we don't have questions on those, we have B and C, which are out-of-state and leased vehicle travel requests and student transfers.
Have all of these photographies been approved by the school principals?
Yes, the principals send
Or
those to
these
me. The principals put out the bids, and then they send them to me for you guys to approve. So yes, they're already recommended by the principals.
Okay, thank you.
know there's an explanation for it, I just don't know what the answer is, that's why I'm asking. The coaches' trips to different locations for football equipment, is that a game or is that a?
It's a game. They take the equipment separate, and on the bus, they have their own van to do that.
Oh, it's a bus for the equipment.
Yeah, it's not really a bus, it's a bigger van, I think. And they kind of use that as a coaches' meetings, reason you'll see several coaches going.
Oh.
They'll kind of use that as their meeting, as well as you'll have a coach on the bus with the kids, yeah.
Is that it?
Yep, that's all I have.
Anything else? All right, do we have a motion to accept consent items finance 1, 2, and under 2, we have bids A, B, C, D, and the out-of-state police vehicle travel request 1 through 8. 1 through 9, excuse me. And then our student transfer request 1 through 12. Do we have a motion for that?
Make the motion.
Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Moose, were you?
I think that was Mr. Moose that said that, wasn't it? I can't tell the
Mr. Green, did you respond?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion unanimous. All right, thank you.
Moose says aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Drink coughs.
They must have said it right at the same time. Personnel.
Good evening. I am asking for an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss personnel, if that's possible.
It's nothing on this, though.
Nothing on this
Okay.
currently, no. We just have a few additions in red. A name correction on service. And then I will draw your attention, Kelly Martin, the employed as a family engagement partner at Glade Creek Elementary. And we do have a request for 5 personal days and 2 unpaid days that we did not receive until last Friday. That's why it's in red. And the board policy states that it has to go before the board prior to the actual event. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do the interventionists work on hour contracts, hourly?
Yes,
That's what I always assumed, but
Yes.
never asked any questions.
yes, they do.
I think on this personal day and 2 unpaid, I'm okay with leaving it on here this time, but I think we ought to send a reminder to each principal to tell their staffs that, hey, the board policy states this. They may not know. It may be somebody new.
It is somebody new. They were just hired in August. Yes, but I will send a reminder.
Okay. And that's my opinion. Somebody else might think that.
No, if that's the policy, we need to be consistent with our policies or change the policy.
Right.
One of the two.
And it's also the policy, the state policy, that in order to take 5 consecutive days off, you have to have it 14 days in advance. This did meet the 14 days. It's just, you know, to coincide with the board meetings, the additional days.
Okay, any other discussion on personnel? Do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
I so move, Roy.
Mr. Moose makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion unanimous. Thank you. Reports, SESC. Mr. Ferguson, I think Mr. Beams covered you for you on that one.
That's correct.
Basically, two topics was discussed, well, actually three. They're going to start having their SESC meetings bi-month or every other month instead of every month. And the other thing was they talked about proximity learning, and that was in our packets tonight to approve that, or the virtual classes. And the other thing they talked about, I think I've shared this with Kristen already, but it's a new dental program that that SESC is kind of supporting. There are several counties that's joined up with this dental outfit, and the coverage is about the same, except the dentists get paid up front a lot quicker. So the dentists are really in favor of it because they're having to wait. They don't have to wait near as long as they've been waiting in the past. So I'll get, as we get more information with that, I'll share it with Kristen, see if it's something we're gonna look at for next school year. And I may have already done that this spring, but we did not move with this. But that's all they had.
Okay, Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
I have nothing right now.
Thank you. Okay, items for future agendas / matters of the board. And remind you, matters of the board might be something positive you want to share with the rest of the board. It might be something you want somebody in the central office maybe to look at before next board meeting. It could be something you're just concerned over and you want to put on a future agenda. So, does anybody, first of all, have anything for future agendas? Okay, matters of the board. So I'll start that out with the other night, last Friday night, went to Nicholas County High School football game here in Summersville, and right before halftime left and went to Richwood to the ball game. And anyway, I was approached by a grandparent, and this is for Mr. Stump. I was approached by a grandparent that their daughter had taken a baby to the women's restroom, and they had to change them on the concrete because there's no baby changing station. So that was a request made to me if we could take care of that. So then I followed up with Kathy Tyree, and Nicholas, the stadium over here, doesn't have one either. So, you know, we're not living in the cave ages, so I think the least we could do is put some baby stations in the women's. And, you know, sometimes it's a man changing those, so I don't know. Sometimes it's a man changing the baby, so I'm not so sure we don't need one in each facility. So you think maintenance can take care of that? That's nothing we need to?
Is that at the stadiums?
Yes. Yeah, it'd be at Dean Memorial Field yes, that's Dean Memorial Field and the stadium over here.
Do they have them in the schools and gymnasiums and stuff?
That's another thing. They don't have them in the gymnasiums, but right now we need to take care of football. And they probably need them in the, you know, gymnasiums as well.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you. Do you think they can get that done before the next home game? You got 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Sure.
It's the kind of answer I like to hear, I'm sure.
No.
Well, if you just put the ones that fold down, I think that's all we need, and
I
and
looked,
hopefully.
I looked at, I was off today, but I looked on Amazon, just real quick at some, and I think you can get them fairly cheap. I'm sure we probably get them here pretty quick, and then just get them up. I was thinking we probably, I kind of caught wind of this earlier. I had figured, I had the same thought, right, we'll put one in the women's and men's. Probably in both, so at both stadiums, Dean Memorial and the Veterans Memorial Park. And then I was thinking, I haven't talked to, of course, we don't like to go in and do things in schools without talking to the principals first. But they do have a bathroom right off the gym that's kind of a private bathroom. We may be able to put a changing table in there. That could probably kind of be considered just a family restroom. And then there is, I think there's probably room at the Red Gym. So I can't think of any other, areas where we would need those as of right now, but.
Okay.
Well, technically, you're doing it for the public, and just technically, Old Main, you might get with the
I was
city.
thinking Old Main too, I just
Yeah.
forgot that
I
was,
mean, just where your gyms are, where your people are, where your games are.
Yeah, and we'll bring that up to our architects, see if our new gyms at our schools will have them.
They're honest, they're not real expensive. What I pulled up is like $125 a table. It's not a big expense, for helping people out.
Yeah, maybe, probably your biggest challenge is gonna anchor them into your concrete walls and stuff,
Yeah.
make sure they're anchored well and stuff.
That's all I have. Anybody else have a matter of the board?
I think we need to get some handicap parking signs at Dean Memorial Field, 'cause the football players and coaches park right beside the gate, and handicap's got to park way off. And people are parking on the walkway. I don't know what we can do about that, but, you know, it's been a problem forever. You would think anybody would know not to park on that, but apparently they don't.
Anything else, anybody?
Why was the September 16th changed to 30?
Because Kristen's not gonna be, the finances aren't gonna be ready until the end of the month. And that's her big report. So she requested that, and we said, okay. She does
Blame
control.
Kristen. That doesn't make any difference.
I'm not throwing Kristen under the bus, but. And the bus doesn't have air conditioning. All right.
You know, it might be something as simple as ropes and, like we put up over at the, high school, Richwood High School, Richwood Middle School, to keep people out of the road and the adjacent, people's, housing areas.
So you're,
Something as simple as that may keep them out.
so you're talking about, on the walking track, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see anybody parked on it, but, it might have been a different area where I walked through. Mr. Stump, you'll look into that, right? See what we can do there. Okay. Future meeting dates, regular meeting Monday, September 30th, 2024 at 5 o'clock at the board office. Regular meeting Monday, October 1st here at the board office at 5.
So,
What'd I say? First. October 7th at the board office. And Tuesday, October 15th is a special LSIC meeting at Panther Creek Elementary School, starting at 8:30 a.m. Please make note of that, 8:30 a.m.
Now, why are we doing that? We usually have those after
We
school
are,
in the evenings.
we are doing that so that more staff can participate and students.
Well, it'll involve several schools, right? Like it usually. Or
Right.
is it just Panther?
No, it'll be several schools. Panther Creek, that'll be, see who's with them, Cherry River.
I think it's 3 schools.
How will that enable more people? I mean, you're gonna have to pull people out of schools. I thought maybe that time was wrong, but, okay.
And the board meeting will be that same date?
No, there won't be more meetings. That's all it is the LSIC.
Okay, will there be a second board meeting in October?
There is, yes.
It's just not listed yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't list them all.
Okay. Mr. Moose, we'll try that at 8:30 on that meeting. We'll see how it goes, and, if it's a problem, then the next time we'll talk about changing it.
Okay, sure.
All right, we need the executive session for personnel.